Good afternoon, everybody. We're about ready to start. Matter of fact, we will start. I'll call this meeting to order. I am Bill Kanda, Custer County Chairman of the Board of Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, July 21st, 2026, and the time now is 2. On the official clock.
I have my timepiece up.
I always use that one, 2:37.
Okay.
Silence your phones if you can, and please stand for the pledge.
Yes. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
to the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Give Lucas.
Please bow your heads. Excuse me. Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here today to conduct the official business of our wonderful county. We ask that you watch over us and help us make managerial decisions that we need to be made today for the benefit of our county and citizens. We do this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Paul. Audience introductions, and let's see what we have first. Roll call first, maybe? Roll call, that's what I meant. I'm sorry, roll call.
This afternoon, he needs it.
I checked it before I said it. Roll call, Kelly.
Commissioner Canada.
Here.
Present.
Commissioner Vogelsong.
Here.
County Attorney Dan Slater.
Here.
BOCC Admin Lomax here. And Clerk to the Board Shelley Campbell.
Okay, now I can check it
Okay.
again. Now audience introductions.
Hi, I'm Randy Sneed. I'm your friendly local Department of Local Affairs Regional Manager.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Director of Finance, Tony.
James Gilbert.
Bob. I know you're back there, Bob. I can see shoulders.
Present.
Thank you.
Ah,
Any amendments, Paul?
no.
Lucas? No, I don't have any.
Ah,
Unfinished business, and I have none either there. How about you? Paul?
no.
Okay, new business. All kind of driven by the essential need we have given the fire and things that we're doing today. So we'll get on with it. And that would be the first thing would be the approval of the Dole Emergency Funding Grant. And you can take that one.
Randy? Speak to this.
And speak loud, please.
I will. In response to past disasters, we've done several different things to help mostly our low capacity counties. My most direct experience was I came on to DOLA when we had just funded right after the spring fire. And we had just funded a recovery, like an actual employee position. In both Costilla and Orfano. Their jobs were really pretty distinct, and how that ended up being structured was after about 2 years, they kind of naturally moved on and the tasks sort of ran out for them. But during those 2 years, they had pretty distinct different work. There was a lot of like FEMA grant work. There was a lot of individual property flood mitigation work from NCIS. There was a lot of long-term economic recovery and like just being on the recovery state force with some state partners. And in their case, particularly Huerfano, there was a lot of they had to do an IGA with the munis because they were doing a lot of hazard mitigation stuff. Costilla County less so. In other communities, we've worked with them to do more of a recovery firm. To do these types of things. So I guess kind of the first conversation that we should have is this is probably available. This is probably all that's available because, as you know, the state is going through some really hard times, particularly with this funding source. And this is about the max we have for half of this funding source will affect your PILT, so the other half, this is about all we have. So that's a little complicated, but, so. I suppose we should have a conversation about whether this is something that you guys feel like you need. I think there's sort of just plenty to do after a disaster and a lot of things that, I think make Custer County tougher and more resilient for the future, being able to sort of take a disaster and rebuild stronger, better, and figure out what, never waste a good disaster, to get things in place so that, the next one that comes, you're even stronger. It's kind of the idea of the cycle of disaster and emergency management. This is the recovery part. But I think it can also be done successfully locally. But anyway, Pueblo County is moving forward with a position in their organization. They went for 3 years. I thought that might be a bit of a long shot. In your particular case, given this kind of the difficulty to get a really qualified person into the boonies where we all live is real. And for that person to have, this is like a skill set that is really rare, and it's sort of ever evolving to where firm is gonna be more expensive, for sure. But the firms that have developed after some of Colorado's big disasters just have, this finance section that is one person specifically doing just the FEMA grants, and they're experts. And they have debris management people, and they just have a team, and they're also just kind of immediately put out an RFP, grab a firm. So more immediately available, so they can perhaps. And I think this is also why we kind of did an emergency meeting, so they can perhaps be useful in a more short-term recovery chunk than just the long-term stuff. So, we thought it would kind of be worthwhile, talking with our 2 DSHEM folks that have been on the ground for this fire. And we've got some emergency manager to put a draft together in case this is something we want to move on. Just because of the timing, getting someone in place, I could probably request this and get an answer within a couple weeks, and then I'd need a couple weeks for the contract, so it's still a bureaucracy. We're trying to move really fast on these, but we're still government.
So how would you define the scope of
Question.
work that you're proposing for us? Skill set,
This is a way starting point. This is
if we were to do it.
the RFP here. I threw in some stuff from both that we used in Costilla's and Orfano's work description. And it was sort of prescriptive for our contracts, because we had this group that was the person in my position and someone from our recovery office, and then lots of locals, where this person was saying, here's what got done this month. And they might have switched to quarterly after a while, but it was like an accountability thing to make sure that, okay, we've got this window, it's a temporary position, we're needing to really make sure that it goes towards the kind of getting Custer back.
Or did that person in Orfano become a resident of Orfano?
She actually became the emergency manager.
Okay, but not before this. I mean, in this case, we would be expected to have that person live here then for a while. What do you?
Well, something that to me makes less sense here as an employee. And I think the recovery firm makes sense, because of that, because it took, particularly in Costilla, it took a really long time to hire someone. Just to get that right person. Housing, all the things, you name it. So that's that part's up to you. But another thing I did for these is I took the recovery manager positions, added some things from there, and then I took, I think Larimer County had an RFP that was for a firm. So A lot of plagiarism and stealing here and there to put something together.
So what the sample RFP that's in our packet today is not for a person, but it's for hiring a consulting firm to do the work instead of the individual employee.
Yeah, and I like that idea better because that doesn't encumber us past this time frame. It gets what's done, and then this person, we don't have to worry about whether this person lives here or doesn't live here. They've, they would be one person that would have to come with many skill sets and have no, where do they gain all the rest of this knowledge and debris management or working with all the different organizations. They're going to come with a company that they can go run back to, or that they can go back to and say, hey, I might need some knowledge about this, or I need this information here. And get that from them. What is this gonna affect for PILT funding?
I'm asking for the rest of our severance, which does not affect Phil.
Okay.
That's sort of what the legislature keeps getting their hands on, moving to other programs from us.
Okay.
But that's usually what we use for, our infrastructure grants, with the Westwood water expansion out here, definitely, but it's been a little scanty lately.
So if we can get severance, I can see going for this. If it hits our PILT, then that's another topic of discussion.
Right.
It wouldn't even bother you, because it'd be
Yeah.
for one reduction.
Can't do it.
Right.
For a bit.
Yeah.
So what exactly is it gonna cost then?
Well, we
Us?
can talk about that,
Around $150,000. The grants for 300,000.
Right.
RFPs for 300,000.
I saw that.
I told, we will do a zero match on these, just to be very frank. They ran, a quick physical needs analysis on Custer is something that we do for every emergency, just to have situational awareness of how the county's doing. And you guys are, not terrible, you have like 9 months of operating funds, Bobo's got 2. But you have far less resources, and they are matching their position. In a weird way, this sometimes how we do, staff. We'll pay 75% the first year, 50% the next year, 25% the next year. I don't see the point of a weird setup like that here. We can do a straight match. I think that it's gonna be a lot easier for me to convince, my colleagues to fund this with a little skin in the game if you feel that you can afford it. And if you have an idea of how much this fire is gonna deplete your sort of meager reserves, then I can take kind of any match. I just need a good reason to go fight for it.
So I guess we need to understand what we think we have to spend the money on. I know it's recovery, I know that, I'm wondering with experience that these other counties have had with actual fires and money that they had to spend of their own. What is it? We can buy, we got gravel, we got road stuff, but we don't have building materials or whatever. What are we accounting for in the recovery? So that we know this person's gonna make a living making grants for something. What are they, what,
And we don't know what we're
we don't
paying
know
yet.
what we're into yet,
We don't know what we're paying for our portion of,
right?
we'll fight them now.
I'm hoping we could be pretty broad. I think that there's absolutely with every disaster in Colorado been a demonstrated need for some type of federal recovery for
Oh,
each
yeah.
county. I have no qualms with kind of getting emergency money, and then if it comes to a natural close, you know how much else for this person to do, we just deobligate the rest of the funds back to the state. And end it early. And that's, I've never worked a recovery job. I know that there's going to be a need and would like to make sure that you have access and the ability to get those services. And I don't even think You know, until we really got far down the line in assessments and, really measuring what kind of damage and what kind of flood mitigation needs to happen and that kind of stuff that we'll necessarily know. And that's something that we understand because we funded these before. So we have the flexibility to amend the contract if need be, and for now, I would sort of pack in everything I could think of into it, you know, in case you sort of have that need.
You know, the federal government, its Forest Service is gonna be paying a lot on the stabilization of the burn area, because it's gonna wash out and all that kind. We're gonna have to be accountable for some of the county stuff within the city limits of Beulah, for example, or Rye or whatever.
How much of this is cleanup versus rebuilding, or is it all cleanup? I guess one of my concerns early on has been the amount of structures that we've lost in the county. I don't know what percentage in a disaster like this rebuild, but every rebuild goes through planning and zoning, and I don't know whether we have I've expressed this privately, I don't know how much we have in terms of infrastructure, personnel and planning and zoning to handle a massive uptick in applications for permits.
We don't really have a good count on the buildings that are totally
Not yet,
destroyed yet,
yeah.
or the ones that are just damaged. We're gonna do that some tomorrow. But if we're flexible to get the process started and then
Well,
nail down being funded, maybe incremental.
is there a deadline that we need to meet? Okay,
No, I just wanted to get it
it's just that we don't have all the
started.
answers yet.
I didn't think about the planning and zoning as part of this. We do have kind of separate Prop 123 funds. Did you guys ever opt into that?
We haven't, no, and I don't know if counties can, I think only municipalities can.
Right.
Well, there's, it's really low match funding that's just for boosting our planning and zoning department, I wonder. Anyway, there's things that we can explore for that if you have a huge uptick.
Well, I don't know what huge is yet, because
Right.
we know that there's 400 structures that got damaged and a lot of them lost, but not all of them.
Aren't we like almost done with the housing assessment?
Yes,
Still do a little
yeah,
bit.
we're pretty close to being done. They did a few on Saturday, a few more on Saturday, so. It's just if there's some out there that we haven't been able to access
Right.
due to down trees or fire still in the way.
I guess my point is, how many zoning permits do you usually do in a month?
Normally, I mean, probably 2 to 3 permits a day for building,
Okay,
Wow.
and then we have the subject permits as well.
okay, well, that's more than I thought, I'm sure, so.
Yeah. Well, it's been busy.
We're gonna cap out one of these days due to land, and water, but that's been the norm for quite a while. It's gonna be a little more than that
I
now.
mean, we people from those areas already calling about rebuilding and what our codes are and what we're gonna require of them and all that, so people are interested in rebuilding.
So we're gonna have to haul out all the debris. That's gonna be on our backs somehow.
Why?
And there'll be funds for the FEMA stuff for some of that, maybe a
Yeah,
lot.
this is the weird nuance of this. We funded this position, and we have a longer role in long-term recovery, and DSOGM has the short-term recovery role, and there's like this federal grant thing.
Right.
So this is kind of we'll fund like the brains that put all this together, because certainly me. Is the idea.
So we're looking for an approval of a DOLA emergency funding grant. We
There's
just need to know what,
also a budget in here of 300,000.
that was just WAG, just picked out of the air.
Well, I usually try to do a little bit better. Yeah. Pueblo County is funding theirs at 300,000 in personnel costs to pay somebody. And like 60,000 in consultant fees, so this would be entirely consultant.
I think they've been
services.
damaged worse than we have, so that's a bigger job over there.
Sure, and I kind of thought we could. It was a long time ago, I guess, now, 8 years or whatever for working on Garcia, but we only kind of spent 80 grand a year for 2 years. So
More likely.
this seemed more than sufficient to me based on our other contracts, but, and, also, if the RFPs come back and we're looking at 2 years of work, but it's higher than we thought it would be, we could sort of make that work. This is based on $100, 100,000 a year for 3 years.
Well, we got a chance we could delay this to decide exactly, because tomorrow we're gonna go get a real good head count on actual
Sure,
buildings that are still survivable.
Assessment, yeah.
It's a real assessment. And then we'll know how magnitude of the big job it'll be. And I'm not sure what even Rye looks like down there in the buildings near that.
No, I
And that's
haven't
where the
seen
fire,
Bueller.
Bueller, and we haven't seen Rye or Colorado City, which is not our worry.
Yeah.
I think I didn't bring up very well, a lot of watershed group, coordination, it's a big thing for the last time
Oh,
I
yeah.
did this.
So,
And contractor management, if there's hiring out to do a lot of mitigation stuff is a big job.
so it looks like there's a draft letter in the packet. Could the board, which is more of a kind of, hey, let's start the process of requesting something.
Yeah, we can, and I think that,
It seems like the board could do that, could authorize that at this point.
yeah, I'm all for asking for help, but we gotta know how much and how much it's gonna cost us.
Yeah,
and
we
what
don't
gotta
know
do.
the wound
So
yet.
maybe we break it into two pieces, like he suggested. I think it's a good idea.
Well, not necessarily two pieces, I'd go for all of it at once.
Well, I mean all of it, but I mean, we're gonna ask for help in one step that we can approve today. We're not gonna approve a $300,000 grant
Oh,
without
no.
knowledge.
No.
Right.
And that's what I'm just trying to, we have it structured so that we're gonna approve the grant. And I don't think that's what we mean here.
Grant requests. I can't just
Yes.
go around.
Okay, I'd like to put, we can put request on the
Without
end of
commitment.
that.
I would need before I can proceed, and you guys can approve it and we can move forward together, just working it out.
Mhm.
But I would need, the exact budget, including what you're willing to match. So if we're asking, I think 300K is the total. So if there's any match involved in that, then we'll have a budget breakdown, and that's really. If
Right.
you're okay with me kind of being, uh, most of these services may include all of these services and more
Well, that's,
about it, then then I can move forward as long as I have those numbers and an assigned letter, then we get an award letter from our powers that be.
but see, that's us saying we want 300,000. We don't know what we want.
Yeah,
And what we're trying to say
Yeah.
here is we want to proceed with the process. We want to open the process to go after that grant. And once we know sort of the rough magnitude by looking at what we've already got to look
Yeah.
at. And so what we could approve today is developing, I mean, if it's not this exact letter, it might be a restructured letter that says the board approves this, and we can say to move forward with the request for funding to recovery funding from Dolan. And then we can supply a letter that says this is exactly what we want based on what we've seen, and then you've got everything legally that you need.
Then they would come back with the amount of the grant, and then we would have the opportunity at that time to accept.
if it helps your process, then you can kind of approve moving forward with DOLA to request emergency funding.
Yeah.
For me, my trigger is the official letter.
Oh, yeah, we understand that.
Yeah.
In order to get a grant going. But
Yeah,
right now, we gotta get it,
In
the
motion.
board to agree the county needs help. And we're gonna start with DOLA, and we're probably gonna beg from anybody else we can get.
yeah,
Bottom line is,
fully what
today we can vote on, to start the process with a request to DOLA,
The request for,
that we will be working on request with you later, the actual process of approving a grant later. Once we know the amount of damage. That makes sense. So, let's make a motion, somebody, to that effect. So I move that we approve a request to DOLA for a request to begin the process for a DOLA emergency funding grant to be worked, once we understand the magnitude of the need. So we can sign that, that we're gonna officially be coming to you once we get a handle on the actual damage that we're gonna have to be accountable for. Okay, so I move that we start the process to apply for an ADOLA emergency funding grant.
Good with that, yeah. I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion on, go ahead, Jim.
I'm totally confused. Your process appears to be, let's apply for the money before we know we need it.
What I said.
And that doesn't sound like a grant application process. So
That's
it sounds
right.
like it's totally backwards.
That's right.
correct.
So why is it happening? So why aren't you doing according to the process?
Well, that's what we tried. That's what I tried to straighten out just now, Jim. We cannot apply for a grant at a certain amount when we don't know what it is. So all I'm doing is, all we're doing is,
what it is.
because we want to have the board, somebody come to the board with that grant request for that exact amount once we understand it. And all this is giving a heads up to Tola that we will be doing that. And she can begin to put together the bigger picture that she has to do behind the
You're
scenes.
giving me a story. What happened here was DOLA came to you and said, there's money. And how much do you want? That's not the way it works. You need to know how much you need.
That's what I said. I
And
agree.
ask her for
That's
it.
exactly what I said.
No, it is not.
All right. It's what he said.
What I.
All I said.
So is how are you gonna determine what the county is responsible for in this process?
That is the process we're going through today with the fire mitigation program that we're currently involved, not mitigation, but the fire recovery, the OEM process we're working today in every meeting we have every day. We know that there's a recovery process. We're at that point now. We have to recover. We know that once we get in there, we can assess the damage and we'll be able to tell anybody, here's what we're going to be accountable for, but we can't do it today. And I just told her that that is happening tomorrow.
So the county doesn't know what it is that they're responsible for, not dollar amounts, just what,
That's
the nature of what.
That's right. The fire damage that has occurred to the homes and the county infrastructure that exists today.
Why the homes?
Because you have to get to them for the insurance companies to get in there, and then they have to be assessed for the damage. They have to bring that into this.
Responsible for the homes.
We're not, we're responsible for the infrastructure to get them there safely and to
So
clean
road.
the mess of roads, infrastructure, septic systems. She's got to go out and inspect to make sure they're still able to do their job because of the damage that was done. Those kinds of things we have to pay for yet. And a lot of that's with grants. There's the federal grants that are going to cover the bigger picture. And then there's some that we're going to have to be accountable for ourselves. So all I
don't
know,
think you have any idea what you're responsible for.
that's right.
So why not?
We're going to wait until we get it before we apply for the grant. And all we're doing is letting them know.
Why do you not know what the county is responsible for in the case of a wildfire? That's what
We don't know what was burned, Jim. We don't know the scope of
I'm
what was
talking
burned.
in general.
I am too.
You can't tell me what, I mean, is the county responsible for damage that occurs on federal and or on private land?
On county owned and infrastructure, yes, we are. But
So
not,
county owned, whatever.
right.
All right, so that's it.
Mhm.
So that shouldn't be very hard.
That's what
You
I
don't
didn't say.
you don't own the septic system.
No, but we're accountable for whether they can, are
Right, so
functional.
you need to.
You have to go out, that costs money.
There's costs.
And we have to issue
involved,
permits to
re-inspecting.
rebuild, and we're gonna make it That's another discussion we're gonna have a little later,
Well, the permits are paid for by the home,
maybe,
maybe.
we might waive them. Help them rebuild. I don't know, that's a discussion we're gonna have.
Well. it could-
Anyway, I'm not gonna debate it.
seems to be that the process for applying for a grant for recovery assistance is working backwards,
Okay,
as far
thanks,
as I can tell.
good comment. Any other comments? All in favor of approving the request as I stated to, once we have assessed the damage to apply for a grant? As we stated, want to restate them?
No, what we are requesting. Or what DOLA has requested, are you guys willing to consider going after this money? We are considering it.
That's right.
Correct. That's what this approval for, is to consider. Is this something we want to use? To hire a recovery firm to help us with our recovery from businesses that have been impacted, the people that have been impacted? What does that look like?
Right.
Some flood mitigation that we're gonna have to do. Culverts that we're gonna have to repair with road and bridge for any that may have been damaged.
We may
And
have to
whatever
ban
else
also
we
road.
may still find out there, but,
So I'm good with the motion as it's stated.
The way what I am hearing is that somebody, staff or one of the commissioners, will by the next meeting next week have probably prepared a letter similar to what's in our packet, where there's a specific request from DOLA for an amount of money and a proposed match
That's true, and it may,
based on what is happening tomorrow in part.
yeah, and it may be that we don't have enough information because the fire hasn't quit in some areas yet, so.
Well, I mean,
We'll know
but
more.
at some
It could
point,
be at two-
you'll know
next week or the week after.
$300,000, which is what I'm hearing is
That's right.
the maximum we can probably expect is gonna either be sufficient or not enough. But my guess is 300,000 is never gonna be too much.
That's right, and it may be that we'll go after other grants too, which is part of the process of your first to go.
And we're here to help you guys find some capacity to coordinate that. I don't think you are psychic or know what your costs are going to be or what's gonna be county portion, but we do know that it will be expensive and more importantly, a capacity burden without some help.
All right, I think, is there any other people wanting to comment on this outside there? But, okay.
No.
So the problem with this was it was stated as we're gonna approve a grant request now. It's not that the statement here wasn't true, an emergency fund grant. We are going to say that we're interested and we will pursue a grant with you at some point. That's all we're saying.
I mean, I wouldn't submit it like this anyways.
No. Okay.
Right.
All right, I'll call for that vote then, since we've gone through everybody. All in favor of approving to go forward with a request to approach DOLA for a grant at some point, once we understand the magnitude, say aye. Paul?
Aye.
Lucas?
Aye.
Kanda, aye.
Very good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, consideration of waiving the land fee fees for slash and deadfall.
So I put this on here, people are asking about this item. I put it on here so that we can consider it. We may need to have a serious workshop about where are we gonna put this stuff? What are we gonna do with all the slash that could end up showing up? Are we going to need additional people out there to support all the slash that could start coming in, or offloading the deadfall? Do we want it to be a specific day? And times during that day? Is it just open now? Do we want to move our chipper over there and start chipping this as it comes through those days that we decide to waive the fees? Or do we want to do reduced fees for slash and deadfall? There's been a whole lot of people that have taken slash out there this whole year and have not gotten a reduction.
Right.
But it is being asked, the community is talking about it.
Yeah, and also there are other options too. We may open some other area to burn it or to bury it or whatever. Doesn't have to necessarily be in county.
Or chip it.
Right now, or chip it.
Yeah, if we had some ground to spread it out on, or if somebody
Right.
is willing to allow us to spread it on the ground.
And what is, that is a reasonable thing, as long as it's clean slash, you can't throw
Right.
paper bags or plastic bags into it, so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's,
And in the past, we have received it and burned it, but that's not gonna be an option, so chipping.
not soon, but it could be a big pile by the time it is.
Yeah, that's what I mean, it'd be a big,
I think it warrants.
but chipping would be a better
I
option.
do.
All right, so let's, this is, and waiving the fee is, an option. In order to, but it has to be specifically for a, not just normal trash kind of thing, it's the fees for mean slash that's, around home somewhere in the middle of town.
Yeah, both slash and deadfall. Yeah,
Right.
deadfall, we can't chip. We could chip the slash,
Right,
but a dead tree or a tree trunk, a
No.
tree trunk or
yeah,
a tree that fell 40 years ago, or
Right,
the chipper's only good for up to 8 inches, so.
the root,
so that means a workshop in the future.
yeah, I think we need to do it fairly quick.
Yeah.
Right, so that we can make a decision in a meeting of some
Okay,
sort.
we'll schedule that for you, want to pick a time?
I'll get with Caitlin for a meeting next week.
Yeah, around our other
Maybe
meetings. yeah.
Monday or Tuesday. Okay,
So,
Stay tuned then. Move forward.
sure.
First of all, is this mitigation and or fire related both? You know, if you're talking deadfall from burnt trees, you gotta cut those out and whatnot.
So I think that needs to be part of our discussion at the workshop is
We separate.
all of that.
Right,
when we-
then my real question comes. Is it feasible for repurposing of everything? Where you chip slash into mulch, you saw logs into usable
Cover,
pieces
yeah.
and you sell all the stuff.
That's possible. That's why we need to talk.
And how bad do we want to control what may be beetle kill and still has beetles in it? So.
right,
Mistletoe.
I
But
think
that's
all-
big, that would be the purpose, Jim, of that.
So it's possible.
we
Absolutely.
have, Jim, we have done that down at Wetmore, in the past, they'd bring in their limbs and everything, we chipped them and then they picked them up and used them for cover.
As a matter of fact, yeah, on this last fire down over Levita Pass, a lot of loggers went down there and put the burnt trees. They're actually kind of cured and.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone in the forest and cut down
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and so it's, and it's worthwhile and we can get pay, sawmillers will pay for the timber and you know, the ability, as long as they can make it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can discuss that at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, next is a discussion around re-permitting fees for those that are impacted by the Aspen fire. So this is a discussion about re-permitting fees.
I think we need a whole lot more information before we decide what we do about those re-permit fees. I think we need to do it by resolution for specific addresses. Or a specific area, but I think if we don't and we make it too broad, pretty soon people will be putting decks and
Yeah, the whole county,
appurtenances on their houses that may. Just because they were evacuated doesn't mean that
their deck
now we're
We're gonna get a new
gonna.
deck on top now.
Right, so I think this needs to be, again, it's one of those things, if we're
Fine.
very specific about, and we have. The proper. Information to
Right.
make that
and
decision.
the proper people come to do it.
Need to also consider the fact that for people who are insured, The insurance company is paying those fees, not those people.
Right.
That's right.
I don't know that we want to give an insurance company a break necessarily.
That's true.
No.
Oh, no.
That's true. Well, I don't know. It depends on the insurance company. Maybe some of them don't cover the permit. I don't know.
If a person.
If they
Yeah,
don't, the
for
homeowner's got. But
Well,
that's
yeah,
a problem.
permit,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
they-
the
small
insurance
fee.
that-
Depends, I mean,
depends.
siding, no, roof, no. We know.
But if partial damage to a house.
Plumbing and electrical is all done through the state, we have nothing to do with that, they would have to get permits to the state. From Doyle.
Yeah, that's right. We wouldn't read permit ones partially damaged.
Septic permits.
If it was, had to be redone.
That would be a total rebuild of a destroyed home
Yeah,
as opposed to repairing like a one part of the building got a tree fell on or something. Problem.
I mean, it just depends on how they're gonna repair it.
That's
Are
right.
they gonna do an addition, or are they gonna do, you know,
Make it back the way it was. Guess anything over that would be a permit.
I mean, you gotta think, we've gotta have drawings, we gotta have blueprints, we gotta have, I mean, it's not just gonna be their phone and saying, I
That's
live in
right.
this area, can I rebuild for free? And we're like, yes, we still have to have a paper trail, we still have to have permits, we still have to
Right.
have, our
Process.
file still needs to be updated to all the new things that they're rebuilding. You know. And I mean, and actually, you know, like Lucas said, you know, I didn't even have an opportunity to go down there and even put my eyes on anything. So for my office, we're just starting, so to go forward and say, we're going to, you know, waive fees for this and that. I kind of need to, see what we're looking at, you know, I think it's premature, you know.
Probably the totally destroyed home might be a little easier to consider, but ones that are partially burned or ones that weren't burned. Impact.
But even then, like Dan said, you know, we've got insurance companies and we've got, you know, all these things and different
Right.
entities that are gonna cover the cost for them to rebuild.
There is one other thing that I may get shot for mentioning, but the board may want to take another look at the wildland urban interface resiliency code issue. For all of the rebuilding that's gonna go on in that area. Or you may, but that's something to keep bear in mind that exists.
That's part of the process. for sure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
they're still finding
Right.
dwellings.
And the other thing is, you get a use tax out of the materials that are reconstructed out there. That's a given. So that's 2%. Would we want to do anything with that or not? That was objective. It's our way that that's the way we regain income.
By her team over in the basement.
Well, that's part of what pays for the planning and zoning department.
Right.
So.
It's important to collect that 2%. Or in the case of Beulah, is it 2%
Here's
plus?
the thing though, if we don't collect the use tax, then another county is. So then we're giving that county money to build their
That's right.
roads and their bridges
Right.
and pay for their departments.
That's exactly.
So, you know, according to the Colorado Revenue and the documents that we have in our office, we are allowed to collect the county tax when that building permit is issued from our office. The
Right.
bill starts
That's
in
right.
our office.
Exactly right.
And so we collect that tax. And then that makes it where the tax stays in our county. And we are not giving, like, we had an individual that went and she was gonna buy almost $200,000 worth of windows for their house in Custer County. In Boulder. The use tax in Boulder is 4.9%, just the use tax.
She-
When she found out, oh my gosh, can I come back and pay my use tax in Custer County?
You're gonna pay it
So
twice then. Really.
So, if she wouldn't have done that, then we would have never gotten that $200,000 worth of window,
That's right.
2%, and Boulder would have gotten the tax.
And that's why it's important that when they rebuild, they need to understand that they only need to pay the 2%.
Right.
And there's ways that we have to make sure that that would be the case, like you just pointed out, no matter where they bought it. If it's used in Custer County, it's 2%.
And people are pretty good about understanding that when you explain things.
Yeah. Okay,
If you buy it.
yes, because here's what happens here. I mean, it's happened here is if you buy it at ACE, it's 2%. But if you build it in the town of Westcliff, it's 3.5%. So if you
So-
build it outside in the county, you save.
Uses in addition to.
Yes.
Yes,
It's different. So, you know, state tax is 4.9%, and you have the county tax, and that's how it. But when they purchase something like a Ace Hardware or the one up in Silver Lake, our receipts itemize everything. So it says, this is the building portion, this is what you paid the county in tax. So then they're not double dipped or charged at those entities because they provided proof that they've already paid the county.
and part of the problem.
They're gonna be charged.
Yeah. Part of the problem we've had is when you build it, you buy an ACE, which is in the city of Westcliff. So they'll charge the city tax too, unless they know that it's not gonna be built city limits of Westcliff. So you save a 1.5%. You gotta tell them though, otherwise you're paying a little more
But we
tax.
buy at the Ace in.
Denver,
Canyon City. You pay the use tax there.
no, all you pay is 2%. That's, you just have to tell them and you pay, it's gonna be used up here. Actually, if it's, you've already charged them for the 2% up here with the building.
Oh, you have a little thing from you
Yes,
that they get to go down and not
Right.
pay Canyon City. Got it.
that's right.
You have to have proof.
You
have to have proof.
You pay a use tax to avoid. use
That's
tax.
correct.
Well, that's.
And believe it or not, Jim, there's a state-built system that is statewide that automatically, if you have that proof and you buy it in Pueblo, they only charge, it's 2%.
I think I might be seeing her more often than.
Yep.
People don't understand that. And then if you go off and buy it, suppose you paid her 2% now. And you go and pay Pueblo and they charge it without you looking, you're just paying triple tax.
Yeah, you know, yeah,
Losing time and all.
ignorance is bliss when.
That's the problem. And we heard, the town of Canyon City or Colorado Springs have enough building going on, they don't even bother to collect the use tax.
Yes, I can see that.
Okey doke, no more discussion on that, and we will come back to that later.
Review that later, the workshop.
Okay, any other items?
None for me.
None here.
Not me.
And a public comment, any more public comments, anything online first? We got anybody online?
Well, Klein.
Good old Rob. And anybody else here? Okay, hearing none, and we will take a recess we're not gonna adjourn, we're gonna go into an executive session.
There you go.
And you want to read or do you want me to read?
I will move that we go into executive session for determining positions and development of strategy for negotiations and instructing negotiators regarding pending litigation per 24-6-402 paren 4 paren ECRS.
I'll second that. Okay, no comments on that. All in favor of this, say aye. Paul?
All right.
Thank you.
I'll be in touch.
Yes.
All right.
So the last agenda item is
It's a placeholder in case.
well, it says it's an item when you can discuss what went on separate session.
Potential action, it says.
I would be largely surprised if there's any action taken.
This is for legal advice.
It's put on there just in case the board wants to take an action, because the board can't take an action. in executive
Yeah, I
session.
get that, but
But-
being on the agenda makes me think I'm gonna stay here and wait to.
Only if you're interested. You sure can. But then we could come out of that and say, we don't have anything to say.
Yeah,
And that is likely going to be the case.
that's probably gonna be.
Likely.
I would say 99.9% likely.
Probably 99.7.
Yeah.
He's a lawyer, you're a politician.
10%.
All right.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Back online.
We're up.
Okay, the time now is, whoops, oh, we gotta get her up. I got the high sign on the right side, now the left side.
All right.
All right, now the time is 3:43. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session and the executive session members were Dan Slater, attorney, Paul Vogelsong, commissioner, Bill Kanda, commissioner, Lucas Epp, commissioner, Kelly Camper, clerk to the board, and Bob Smith, HR. So if any person who participated believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Any? None. Okay, with that, we're out of the executive session. And as a result of the executive session, there's no potential action needed, and therefore I will adjourn the meeting at 3:49.
I,
About to.
Is that what you got?